All right, Jonathan, from a network perspective.
You know, I've been at 100 different conferences, and I've spoken on a lot, and you're the first guy I've ever seen wear flip-flops. So let's hear it for Steven.
Thank you. Don't encourage me, please.
Oh, yeah, I know. So 24/7 was one of the first internet advertising companies, formed in '95, and it really started as an ad network, right? It was actually one of the first ad networks in the space. And in reality, there was a simple concept when we formed the company 15 years ago, which was, in general, it is too complicated for advertisers to reach audiences in a very fragmented world. And I think in some ways we underestimated how fragmented the world would really truly become. The company itself went through a lot of iterations. It was one of the handful of companies that survived the dot-com apocalypse back in '01 and '02, and then rose back to scale through the kind of renaissance from 2003 onward to 2007. And we just joined WPP in 2007, and just from my perspective, it was kind of interesting because we were a media seller. We had a mid-sized ad network, top 15, about 80 million uniques at the time. And we also had the second largest installed base of ad management technology, OpenAdStream, and a very large search engine marketing shop, about $250 million, pretty good. Well, when the entire world came together back in 2007, it was really interesting to have the world's largest media buyer, WPP, with largest media and research presence in Kantar, as well as one of the top creative agencies, decide to take a run at us. And the mandate was, when we came on in, that we would use the technology foundation from 24/7 Real Media and helped unify the efforts of WPP as the single largest entity within the advertising media space. And so what's happened in the 3 years since? Well, certainly we've done a lot of great things on the advertising side. We spun out a group called the Media Innovation Group that's now working with Kantar and with the media agencies throughout WPP to drive technology. But what's happening on the publisher side is that we've got that synergies from that, which is our network has grown from 15 to number 5. We have 200 million uniques across 5 networks around the world. Our installed base of ad management technologies in through about 20,000 publishers worldwide right now. And what's really interesting from my perspective, and one of the great campaigns that we've been able to work on, is Domino's. And obviously, everyone has a lot of fond memory from Domino's when we all went to college and scarfed down Domino's at 3 o'clock drunk. But it was like a middling pizza, right? I mean, it really was not great. And they recognized that that was a problem, a fundamental product problem that actually was affecting their brand image. And so they came to us, both on the publisher side, on the media network side, as well as on the buy side, through the Media Innovation Group, to say, hey, we have a problem. We're going to fix the product, help us get the message out, and more importantly, help us track how effective that message is being received by the end consumer. And so we came across with a full program that actually started with data. And the data was that we would tag up the entire campaign granularly, not only from the buy side, but from the sell side, so that you can track at any given time, in any given location, how that campaign is resonating with any given audience. And we launched that about a year ago. It helped them nationally relaunch their brand as a different type of pizza. And obviously you have all the great things about campaign performance increasing 30 to 40%, yada, yada, yada. But more importantly, it opened up into the eyes of our partner in Domino's that brand and response are kind of parts of the same spectrum, and they're not binary outcomes. You can get both. And one of the great things that we are trying to propagate through all of WPP's new and existing clients is that you can get both. And you need to spend more online so that you can get the best of both worlds, both attribution, direct response, and brand building top of the funnel.
Excellent. Thank you for that. So I had a second question that you guys all already answered, which was the IAB and Bain worked on a study together last year, and one of the outcomes of the study was until media sellers become more strategic partners to advertisers, we're not going to realize the full potential. And every single one of those examples, it wasn't a matter of a salesperson going in with an insertion order to a media planner and, in between manis and petties, as we talked about yesterday, and lunches, getting a deal done. This is much more strategic from the get-go, and you guys are getting involved from the get-go. So that's fantastic. We're going to shift to some audience participation. I've got some questions from yesterday, but if anybody has a question now, very happy to take it. RJ, in the back?
So those are some great examples, and the question I have is, the way your organizations are currently set up, can those things really scale? Can you do those Cap One examples across 20 clients? And is the organization or is the industry really able to scale these types of creative approaches? Or can that only be a couple % of your business and the rest have to be insertion orders?
Anybody want to take that?
I think the
Or
question was
everybody?
directly about Cap One, so I guess I can volley back a little bit on that. I absolutely think they can scale. I think any one of these ideas is as good as its execution. It really only takes money to do these things. It's not like it has to take some magical power. You simply come to us as a provider of our content. We have our story of our audience, and simply come back to these whatever the range of clients is with a good idea. I think the temptation for most people generally, when they try to build a relationship, is build it one-on-one and make sure it's trustful, which is fine. But I think the way that the business actually works, and if you're trying to build your brand, you have to be one to tell your story on CBSSports.com, on Yahoo, on Bleacher Report, on ESPN.com, on SI.com, and across the board. And campaigns like the one that I mentioned with Cap One would certainly allow you to do that. So when we think about scale, we certainly think about it in the context of market share, like what you're doing with us today, can that live someplace else? And presumably it can. One of the things that feeds our business, obviously, is competitiveness between brands. But there's no reason to think that one brand or a multitude of brands couldn't try to execute against the same type of strategy on multiple platforms and multiple sites, whether they're mobile sites, television networks, local television stations, whatever it might be, or the range of media sites we talked about today. So I think the answer is an enthusiastic yes, it can be done.